Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can.
Go ahead.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnana Anjana Salakaye Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manovitam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadadisva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamadam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sanatana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Savakana Lalita Sri Visaham Vidam Sa Sri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutati Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhasya Sa Kripa Sindhu Bhayayeva पतितानां पावनभयो वैष्णवभयो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवसादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Super excellent. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Quick announcement that in the coming weeks, we will have some classes cancelled. I will let you know as soon as I become aware of the information. So it was possible that this week's classes for all batches, meaning yesterday and today, possibly could have been cancelled, and therefore I sent messages for yesterday's class and today's class late. So follow the messages. I will inform as soon as I become aware of the information, and I will post the information there and you follow along. So use the time to continue to read scriptures, and those of you who are in the process of getting caught up can definitely use the time to get caught up. And I will anyway send Prabhupada lectures for everyone to listen to. We also welcome back Prerna. Welcome, and she is also in the process of getting caught up on whatever classes she has missed. Thanks to the devotees who got her back, Pragya and others. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So today what we will cover is, first I will answer inquiries from the past couple of classes, and then you will answer homework questions given from the previous class. And then we will discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, from about verse 1 to 25, where the crux of our discussion in this Chapter 8 is on Kunti Maharani's prayers that try to use the material world miseries to remember Krishna, because there will always be difficulties in the material world. Plus, this chapter also describes a lot of qualities of Krishna. And at least for me, it is easier to remember Krishna via his qualities rather than trying to meditate, say, on his form or pastimes. I mean, for you, whatever works, you continue to follow that. But there's an opportunity to use Krishna's qualities to remember Krishna more and more. So let me bring up on screen the inquiries submitted by devotees, and we'll go from there. I have to fix this first. Give me a moment. All right. Question number 1. Why would Krishna create such an external energy which keeps the soul under illusion and away from him, while he simultaneously desires to free the conditioned soul from Maya's clutches? So as part of secondary creation by Brahmaji first created ignorance as a necessity, because unless Jiva forgets his real identity as a soul, the Jiva cannot fulfill his desire to enjoy in the material world. So this is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12, verse number 2. I will bring up on screen and we will read the verse and the translation. I also request you all to have your family members join the Bhagavatam classes. For example, Vimal Prabhu's daughter, at least one of the daughter, is grown up enough to understand and follow the Bhagavatam, because yesterday Vimal Prabhu's daughter asked me a question that she heard some incorrect information from somewhere. So here's an opportunity for you all to spread the Bhagavatam among your families also. Or for example, Archana's sons, they are also pretty elevated. I mean, others also. I'm only giving examples of what I know. For rest of you can follow the same to get your family to listen into the Bhagavatam, and feel free to get them to read who are possible to read, as well as make them to ask questions. In batch number 1 and 2, Sridhar Prabhu has a daughter almost the age of Vimal Prabhu's daughter, the elder one. And most of the classes, it's that younger daughter who starts reading the Bhagavatam verses. So try whatever is possible for you all. So I'm only giving examples. I'm not listing everybody's family. I'm just giving examples to understand the principle. Okay, so we are on the screen. We have Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12, verse number 2. Archana will read the translation and the purport from the screen, or the Bhagavatam at your place.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. What verse, Prabhuji, you said? What canto?
3:12:2.
3:12.
You have it on the screen.
Yeah, Prabhuji, it's so small, I cannot see.
Yep.
Well, the text third, right, Prabhuji?
2.
2, okay. Brahma first created the Nisans engagement like a self deception, the sense of a death, anger after frustration, the sense of the false ownership, and the illusion bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity, purport. Before the factual creation of the living entity in the different varieties of species, the condition under which a living being in a material world has to live were created by the Brahma. Unless a living entity forget his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material condition of life. Therefore, the first condition of a material existence is the forgetfulness of one's real identity. And by forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death, although a pure living soul is deathless and birthless. This false identification with material nature is cause of false ownership of things which are offered by arrangement of a superior controller. All material resources are offered to the living entity of his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of a self-realization in the conditioned life. But due to the false identification, the conditioned soul became entrapped by the sense of the false ownership of the property of a supreme lord. It is evident for this from this verse that Brahma himself is a creation of a supreme lord, and the five kinds of nescience which condition the living entity in a material existence are creations of Brahmas. Is simply ludicrous to think the living entity is to be equal with the supreme being when one can understand that the conditioned soul are under the influence of Brahma's magic word. Patanjali also accepts that there are five kinds of nescience as mentioned herein. Haribo.
Okay, does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay, I also want everyone to realize, I have already explained this multiple times, that when you are referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, say here it says him, the H should be capital. Where he says he, H should again be capital. So I have corrected many times. I can only correct so many points. So you have to take responsibility also to not just type like duck, 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 duck. No, look what you are doing. We are not here to just put a tick mark. We have to respect the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the start, it was understandable, but now I have explained to you so many times. So you have to take ownership of what you are typing as you are typing, wherever you are typing. Okay, question number 2. What is the difference between external, marginal, and internal energies of Krishna? In this description, is Krishna only energy or there is physicality in addition to these energies? So internal energy is the spiritual energy under Srimati Radharani and is meant to give pleasure to Krishna. In between internal energy and external energy is marginal energy, where the souls are the marginal energy. Souls are in between the internal and marginal energy because depending on the use of free will, the soul can either be under the internal or external energy. And external energy is the material world. So Krishna is a person. We have a human form because Krishna has a human form and we all come from Krishna. The two-handed Shyam Sundar form of Krishna is Krishna's original form, and we say Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna is not just an energy. He is a person. And some energies are just energies. And some energies have form, just as soul is not just an energy, but soul also has a form, like a spiritual form as well. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Question number 3. Are there Chiranjeevis for real? It is said that some of the Chiranjeevis are living due to the blessing and others due to curse. For example, as we discussed, that Ashwatthama is said to be still living due to this scourge, meaning a negative Chiranjeevi, means a Shapit Chiranjeevi. And Srila Vyasadeva is also said to be a Chiranjeevi due to a blessing. So are these discussed in some of the scriptures? Shivangi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you explain what is a Chiranjeevi?
Yeah, I will. So Chiranjeevi refers to somebody being eternal, that somebody gets a blessing that, okay, you will live forever. So understand that Srila Vyasadeva is Krishna himself at Krishna Tattva level. Therefore, he is always eternal. So Chiranjeevi in the inquiry refers to someone getting a curse or a blessing to live forever, means he is eternal. Now, the question says Ashwatthama is Chiranjeev. Well, that is not correct. Ashwatthama is not Chiranjeev. Ashwatthama is not eternal. We'll soon read in Canto 1, Chapter 8, that Ashwatthama was punished and thrown out. And Ashwatthama then again released another Brahmastra to kill Parikshit Maharaj in mother's womb, upon which Krishna punished Ashwatthama, that Ashwatthama will live on this earth in the same body for some 36,000 plus years. So it is a long life, but it is not eternal. So Ashwatthama is not Chiranjeev. It is just a punishment given to live in the same rotting body for such a long time. Is a very severe punishment given to Ashwatthama. So no one is eternal on earth, means no one is Chiranjeev on earth. Even Brahmaji's life ends after 311 trillion 40 billion earth years. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 4. Is our scriptural guidance against death sentence? One should not kill even a tiny ant, because by killing any living entity, the evolution cycle of that living entity is disturbed. So one gets a particular life form, say a particular animal body, to exhaust the karma of that life, and then that living entity gets life of a next animal in the sequence of 8.4 million life forms. So if a living entity is in an ant body or any life form, if that ant is killed prematurely before the ant's karma of that life is exhausted, then that living entity has to again take birth as an ant to exhaust the life and the karma. If ant was not killed prematurely, then the karma in the ant body is exhausted, and the living entity then gets the next animal body in the sequence. Thus, by such evolution cycle, the living entity gradually comes to getting a human form of life. In the human form of life, the living entity can do devotional service and go back home to Godhead. So living entity goes through lot of punishment as is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapters 30, 31 and 32. Some devotees present here have attended those other classes where that severe punishment of the jiva is described. So in terms of the question about death sentence, so punishment in the material world is there for sure for many, and it is quite severe also. In terms of death sentence, the scriptures don't have direct reference to it, but based on the other information available, you can say that we should not be killing anybody, otherwise we are blocking their evolution cycle. Does that answer the inquiry? Nitya?
Prabhu, I know as living entities individually we cannot, but we read in one of the texts in chapter 7 that the king is allowed to offer a death sentence to a person who's been an aggressor, because in some way that is actually relief for that aggressor, right? I don't remember the text, but the king is allowed to give the punishment. And I believe it also said that that way that person gets the whatever the thing for his action and does not have to suffer later. I don't remember the word.
So you are correct. It's there in Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 verse number 36 that 6 aggressors, they are killed. There is no sin incurred. So understand that that is for authority to decide. And unless somebody is a pure devotee, it is very likely that one may make a decision based on anarthas or for some personal grudge. So authority, yes, they can go and decide to exercise a particular right from scriptures, even if it is to kill somebody. But for ordinary people like me, I don't have any right to kill anybody. Even if they are aggressors, I am not in a position to judge whether he is an aggressor or not. Does that answer?
Yes, Prabhu.
Tara?
So, Prabhuji, just to understand, who has a right or authority to, let's say, punish someone or give death sentence in this material world, or no?
In the material world, we do have the law system.
Yeah.
Krishna is the supreme judge. So in the Mahabharata war, as the supreme judge, Krishna ordered Arjuna to kill everybody on the opposite side, and Arjuna did not incur a single sin in killing so many. Arjuna single-handedly killed a majority of the people on the other side. So in the material world, yes, there is a law system. Not that the law system is the greatest, but at least there is a law system. They will have some authority. Does not mean that the material world law system has the ultimate authority. The ultimate authority is still Krishna. Tara?
Yes, Prabhuji. So if they, let's say, create a law against the death sentence, then they are exempted from the sin?
No, sin does not get exempt. Even if somebody is given a death sentence, the sin is not not wiped out by that. The only way to wipe out sin is to surrender to Krishna and to do devotional service. So Dara, for you in batch number 6, the karma discussion is coming up in the next couple of classes.
Okay.
So even if somebody actually gets a death sentence by the law system in the world, that person's sin is not wiped out. He's just given a death sentence that he becomes no longer a nuisance in the society, but his sin continues.
No, sorry, Prabhuji, I meant the people who are making the law.
Yeah, the people who are making the law, they don't get a sin as long as they acted properly. Right? So understand that the law system is very corrupt on earth, no matter which country you go.
Yes.
As long as they acted properly, then they don't get a sin. But if somebody is using his influence
Okay, yeah.
to kill somebody else and not get punished, that is not correct. So I'll give you an example for this. So back when I was in India in college, I used to be a badminton player. And there used to be a very famous badminton player in India. So Prakash Padukone back then was number 1. And there was a second person, I don't remember his name right now. He was very close to number 1 or almost getting to number 1 in India at least, as well as in the world. His wife had an affair with some political person. And when it became aware, this badminton player got killed suddenly, and everybody accused that the political person was the one involved in killing. Now, the law system in India is ridiculous. So this went through the court case, and this political person was deemed that he is not guilty. And 2 days later, I'm telling you, literally 2 days later, this same political person marries this same widow. I mean, come on, it is black and white. But the law system is ridiculous that he was not convicted, that he was having an affair, and then somehow that person gets killed. I mean, there is too much evidence to support this. So this is an example that the law system was used incorrectly. And again, I'm showing it from a different angle. I'm just trying to prove that the law system was used incorrectly.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Everybody on the same page?
Prabhuji.
Question number 5. How do we know if a situation in our life is a test from the Lord? It's a very important inquiry. Have undivided attention. Srila Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verses 8 to 12, paragraph number 2, the very last line says that there must be a test. Otherwise, how will you know that you are developing the required spiritual qualities? So generally, the devotee who is under Maya's test will not be able to know that the devotee is under the test. So although the question says test from the Lord, I am going from the point that test from Maya. So there's a difference between the two. So the devotee will not know generally that the devotee is under Maya's test. It is for some other devotee to recognize that so-and-so devotee is under Maya's test. So if you don't already have a close relationship with a devotee, then I request that immediately build a close, trusting relations with a devotee, because this Maya's test is mandatory for all. This building trusting relations so that you can share personal situation with a trusting devotee is an important function of ISKCON and is described in Nectar of Instruction text number 4, Guhyam Akhyati Prachati. So those from batch number 6 and 7 or anyone who has not heard this discussion on Maya's test should immediately have an offline discussion with me. Under normal circumstances, I may theoretically think that I have already developed these spiritual qualities. But when there is a provocation, means when there is a test, that is the time to judge whether you have developed spiritual qualities or not. Many devotees across all batches and more than few right now virtually present among us have gone through this Maya's test, and some devotees virtually present right now are currently going through this Maya's test. So as we read in a couple classes back, or couple classes back, that Maya has taken this thankless task to keep the living entities bewildered and bound in the material world. Similarly, we will read in Srimad Bhagavatam that doing devotional service is like waging a war against Maya Devi. So in any war, one tries to defeat the opponent at the very start when the opponent is at the weakest point. Similarly, for all of us, at the start of spirituality, this Maya Devi's test will test each and every sadhaka, and most devotees fail at the very first test of Maya Devi and go away from spirituality. For those who pass through the initial test, then the severity and the frequency of the Maya's test increases. Yes, I said correctly that the severity and the frequency of Maya's test increases. So generally, the devotee under Maya's test will not be able to know that the devotee is under the test. It is for some other devotee to recognize that so-and-so devotee is under Maya's test. So I'm repeating these points because very important, that if you don't already have a close relationship with a devotee with whom you can have a trusting, open conversation about your personal situation, then I request that immediately build a close, trusting relations with a devotee. We have so many devotees in our classes across so many batches. So build a trusting relation with a devotee, because this Maya's test is mandatory for all. Some example. So the question says, how do I know that I am in a test? I'll give you some examples, although it is very difficult for the devotee under the test to judge. Some examples to judge that you are in Maya's test is that when you miss series of classes and do not listen to class recordings, or when you talk to me or when you talk to other devotees in the Simpsons-like voice, da, 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 da. Well, be very careful. You are under Maya's test. Because Maya's role is to rearrange your priorities and make you so much engaged in the material world that you will get overwhelmed. So many of you have already heard this, but some of you are there from batch 6 and 7. Therefore, after today's class, I will again send in the WhatsApp group a very important 7-minute short lecture titled First Priority is to keep the first priority as the first priority. What Maya does is Maya will give you multiple competing priorities, the result of which is that Krishna goes to priority number 2, then to priority number 10, then to priority number infinity, and then Krishna is not there at all. I will pause here and I will let everyone ask some questions, comments, realizations on this. Nitya?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think at the end of it you answered the question, but my thing was Maya Devi's tests are offered as distractions in our path of in our spiritual endeavors. It is not I've read this going ahead that it's not the vicious, the result of karma. It's not that test we're talking about, as you said that it will increase in frequency and severity. So the calamities that come are part of that, or these are just distractions offered so we stay on the path of spiritual service?
Yeah, it's a mix of everything, because Maya has almost unlimited ways to test. So it's a mix of everything. So you have a set negative karma in your body, and Maya will rearrange your karma, that the karma that was supposed to happen one after the other, the negative karma, Maya Devi will make all that negative karma to happen simultaneously. Well, that's going to overwhelm you significantly. Nitya?
Yes, Prabhu, that's my understanding too. So as we're going to read ahead, that we will have to at each step turn to God and strengthen our faith. That's the result of it. Thank you.
Okay. Everybody on the same page? Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Yeah, so I request those from batch 6 and 7 or anybody who has not heard this discussion about Maya's test should have an offline conversation with me, as well as try to find a trusting buddy for yourself. Question number 6. Please elaborate on the 4 pillars of liberation mentioned in Canto 1, Chapter 7, verse number 24. So there are 5 kinds of liberation, as is described many places, and we'll read from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.13 for this very soon. So devotee generally is not wanting any liberation. Specifically, the liberation of ekatvam, meaning to merge with the Absolute, is clearly rejected by the devotee. Other liberations, devotee may accept when it is offered by the Lord, as long as there is service possible. Therefore, it comes down to 4 kinds of liberation. So from the 5 kinds of liberation, the liberation to merge is completely ruled out for the devotee, and then comes down to 4 kinds of liberation, as is described in 9.4.67. So we'll read these 2 verses. First is 3.29.13, that there are 5 kinds of liberation. Now this 3.29.13 is a key memorization verse. I will recite. Shalokya saristri samipya sarupyena ekatvena api uta diyamananam nagrahanti vinamatsevanam jana. Dhara, can you read the translation?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. Salokya, Sarsriti, Samipya, Sarupya, or Ekatva, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so there are these 5 kinds of liberation, but the question said that 1.7.24 says 4 kinds of liberation. So what are these 4? So we'll follow 9.4.67, where this is described, the 4 kinds of liberation in there. Let's see, Divya, translation.
Krishna. My devotees who are always satisfied to be engaged in my loving service are not interested even in the four principles of liberation, Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, and Sarishti, although these are automatically achieved by their service. What then is to be said of such perishable happiness as elevation to the higher planetary systems?
Okay, so we read in 3.29.13 that the 5 kinds of liberation are there. And then 9.4.67, you will see that the ekatvena means the merging kind of liberation is not listed. It's only the rest of the 4. And that's what is referred to in 1.7.24, that the 4 kinds of liberation my devotees do not accept. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Question number 7. What are the laws of Manu? Does this also come from the Lord? And is this applicable in all ages? So there are way too many laws described by Manu. Manu's role is to get people live according to proper rules so that they can go back home to Godhead. So whatever laws Manu is giving, they are coming from the Lord because Lord created Manu for this specific role. So basically, if you follow scriptures such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, you will be following the proper rules in life. As an example, we read last time and we will read again now from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.37 purport, where it says that if you kill somebody or if you administer the distribution of animal stuff and all that listing of people, all of them are eligible to be killed by that particular animal in the next life. So let's read. Nitya will read in the purport. So we are on 1.7.37. Here it says, according to the Manu. And read what is highlighted. Nitya.
Yes, Prabhu. According to Manu, the great author of civic code and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer because animal food is never meant for the civilized man, whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to Godhead. He says that in the art of killing an animal, there is a regular conspiracy party of sinners, and all of them are liable to be punished as murderers, exactly like a party of conspirators who kill a human being combinedly. He who gives permission, he who kills the animal, he who sells the slaughtered animal, he who cooks the animals, he who administers the distribution of the foodstuffs, and at last he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers, and all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature.
Right, so these are the civic codes given by Manu that you cannot kill any animal. Otherwise, you become liable to be killed by this animal. So this was one example. I'll give another example and I'll pause for a question to you all. So here is now 3.22.35 that Manu's lifespan is little over 71 cycles of 4 yugas, which is about 306,720,000 Earth years. And throughout his such a long life, Manu spent in Krishna conscious activities. So I am assuming that this inquiry on what are the laws of Manu would be that I want to follow those laws. So judge for yourself that Manu spent his entire 306,720,000 years of lifespan in Krishna conscious activities. How much time are you spending in Krishna conscious activities? Not to mention, I have stopped begging you all to complete these spiritual endeavors. So judge for yourself. How much time are you spending on Krishna conscious activities? Dipanshu Prabhu, read at a faster pace, translation and purport. Mansi, from the screen, read faster pace.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The purport only. Translation.
Translation.
Consequently, although his duration of life gradually come to an end, his long life consisting of a Manvantara era was not spent in vain, since he ever engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, and chanting the pastimes of the Lord.
Priyanka, purport, faster pace.
Hare Krishna. As freshly prepared food is very tasteful, but if kept for 3 or 4 hours becomes stale and tasteless, so the existence of material enjoyment can endure as long as life is fresh. But at the fag end of life, everything becomes tasteless and everything appears to be vain and painful. The life of Emperor Swayambha Manu, however, was not tasteless. As he grew older, his life remained as fresh as in the beginning because of his continued Krishna consciousness. The life of a man in Krishna consciousness is always fresh. It is said that the sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening, and its business is to reduce the duration of everyone's life. But the sunrise and sunset cannot diminish the life of one who engages in Krishna consciousness. Swayambhava Manu did not become stale after some time. He engaged himself always in chanting about and meditating upon Lord Vishnu. He was the greatest yogi because he never wasted his time. It is specially mentioned here, Vishnu Kurvato Bhruvata Kataha. When he talked only of Krishna and Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. When he heard something, it was about Krishna. And when he meditated, it was upon Krishna and his activities. It is stated that his life was very long, 71 yogas. One yoga is completed in 4,320,071 of such yogas is the duration of life of a Manu, and 14 such Manus come and go in one day of Brahma. For the entire duration of his life, Manu engaged in Krishna consciousness by chanting, hearing, talking about, and meditating upon Krishna. Therefore, his life was not wasted, nor did it become stale. Hare Krishna.
Does that answer the inquiry? Divya?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So the Manu king is like a pure devotee, and he created these laws based on like the Vedas or something. Like he used the Lord's scriptures and kind of created these laws based on that.
Yeah, you are correct. So we'll read in it's there as the role of Manu. So we are reading from Canto 3. So as part of creation is describe what is role of Manu. So role of Manu is to give how to live according to scriptures. So your point is correct, that what you described, Divya.
Okay, Prabhuji. So living beings are expected to follow these rules.
You are correct. So some rules will be at Karma Kanda level and some will be at Bhakti level. So therefore I said at the start of answering this question that if you live according to Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam rules, you are at the Bhakti level and you basically are following the proper rules.
Okay, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, when Vedic societies existed, then those societies were based on these laws.
You are correct.
But today's society, we cannot follow these laws, or we should, but we're not.
So not everybody follows the laws in today's society, but you try to follow as much as is possible. Otherwise, what's the difference between you studying scriptures and rest of the materialistic people? Therefore, one of my question was, well, you wanting to know the laws of Manu, and we read that Manu spent 306,720,000 years in Krishna conscious activities. How much time are you all spending in Krishna conscious activities? Judge for yourself. So Divya, you are correct that not everybody is following, but then everybody is in the cycle of going to hell, the spiral cycle. If you also want to continue that spiral cycle of hell, well, it's your free will.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Everybody on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Last question for today. Lord Brahma was once allured by his daughter and began to follow her. How can we understand this incident and the story? What lesson we can learn from this? So this is directly described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12, verse number 28. We'll read very soon. This verse has the teachings from this episode where Brahmaji got sexually attracted to his daughter Vak, even though the daughter was not attracted to Brahmaji. And this verse or this incident, this episode, is only to give knowledge that the strong senses can bewilder even the most learned Brahmaji. Therefore, one should be extremely careful while associating with opposite sex. And that this incident happened in some previous kalpa, but not in the day or the kalpa in which Lord Krishna spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Brahmaji. So before hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he might have fallen victim. But after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no possibility for Brahmaji or anyone to fall down. So Maitreya Muni is reciting these verses, explaining this episode, and this is just to bring to attention for all of us of this great danger. This Vak incident is actually Krishna's arrangement, that even though Brahmaji is in an exalted position, there is still chance of falling down. And Srila Prabhupada quotes that one may be elevated, but one should not sit in a lonely place with a female, whatever be the relation, whether mother, daughter, doesn't matter, whatever be the relation. Therefore, one should be very, very careful that if Brahmaji could be victim of sinful urge, then what to speak of ordinary persons. So we'll read this 3.12.28 translation and purport, where this incident and the reason for this is described, that what is the learning for us. Shivangi, translation and purport, faster pace.
Hare Krishna. Oh, Vidura, we have heard that Brahma had a daughter named Vivak, who was born from his body and who attracted his mind towards sex, although she was not sexually inclined towards him. Purport. It is said that the senses are so mad and strong that they can bewilder even the most sensible and learned man. Therefore, it is advised that one should not indulge in living alone even with one's mother, sister, or daughter. Vidvamsam api karshati means that even the most learned also become victims of the sensuous urge. Maitreya hesitated to state this anomaly on the part of Brahma, who was sexually inclined to his own daughter, but still he mentioned it because sometimes it so happens, and the living example is Brahma himself, although he is the primeval living being and the most learned within the whole universe. If Brahma could be a victim of the sexual urge, then what of others who are prone to so many mundane frailties? This extraordinary immorality on the part of Brahma was heard to have occurred in some particular kalpa, but it could not have happened in the kalpa in which Brahma had heard directly from the Lord the four essential verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, because the Lord blessed Brahma after giving him lessons on the Bhagavatam, and he would never be bewildered in any kalpa whatsoever. This indicates that before the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, he might have fallen a victim to such sensuality, but after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam directly from the Lord, there was no possibility of such failures. One should, however, take serious note of this incident. The human being is a social animal, and his unrestricted mixing with the fair sex leads to downfall. Such social freedom of man and woman, especially among the younger section, is certainly a great stumbling block on the path of spiritual progress. Material bondage is due only to sexual bondage, and therefore unrestricted association of man and woman is surely a great impediment. Maitreya cited this example on the part of Brahma just to bring to our notice this great danger.
Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji. So it happened. I think Bhagavad Gita was spoken before the creation. So Srimad Bhagavatam was not spoken at that time.
So Srimad Bhagavatam existed. Brahmaji has not heard it, right? Until Krishna spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Brahmaji, as well as other scriptures.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody on the same page with this inquiry? Okay, I will bring up on screen striking points, and you can please take a snapshot. So first you have two slides from a previous class. I did not bring up on screen. So this is slide number 1. Take a snapshot. This is slide number 2. And now the sequence will start again from number 1. So these are now the striking points from the previous class. So this is slide number 1. Slide number 2. And slide number 3.
So can I see the slide 1, 2 again?
Okay, 1. 2. And 3. Questions, comments, realizations before we start rest of the discussion? Okay, we spent almost an hour on inquiries. Thank you again for your super excellent inquiries. Your inquiries are your mercy on me, that because of your inquiries, I got to do so much research and talk about Krishna Katha. Thank you again. Okay, so you all had some spiritual endeavor questions to answer from last class. Somebody do it quick, answer them quickly. Somebody quickly. Priyanka.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. For the first one, identifying the arguments for and against the execution of Ashwatthama, the arguments for killing him or executing him was he was a Brahmana relative. He killed innocent boys in their sleep. He was irreligious, a wretched person. He promised, because Arjuna promised Draupadi that he would behead him. He murdered the family. It was also Krishna's order, and it was also Bhima's. Bhima also was in support of killing him. For not killing him or for being against the execution, that Arjuna had to practice the principles of religion. He was a teacher's son. He was Kripi's son, and Kripi would have been alone. Uh, there was a duplicity in dharma. It would be against the scriptures again. And Yudhishthir was in support of it, so was Draupadi. And Nakula Sahadev were also in support of not killing. And what was the motive of Lord Krishna outwardly encouraging Arjuna? It was so that he wanted to test Arjuna whether he understood the principles of religion and the message that Krishna had given him in the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, super excellent to answer both the questions to perfection. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll now start Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, where the crux of our discussion in this Chapter 8 on Kunti Maharani prayers is that how do we use material world miseries to remember Krishna, because there will always be difficulties in the material world. Plus, this chapter 8 also has about 10 qualities of Krishna, and at least for me, it is easier to remember Krishna using his qualities instead of trying to meditate on his form or his pastimes. So just a recap in terms of where we are. That the sages wanted to know about Parikshit Maharaj because hearing about Krishna's devotees will lead to Krishna Katha. So the 5 innocent sleeping sons were killed by Ashwatthama. Arjuna captured Ashwatthama, and there was a discussion whether Ashwatthama should be killed or not. At end, Krishna says Brahma Bandhu should not be killed, but aggressor should be killed. Now Ashwatthama is both. So what do you do? Therefore, the intelligent Arjuna found a compromise solution to cut Ashwatthama's hair and the jewel, plus threw him out of the camp. For a respectable person, this is as good as death, and still he was not killed. And Krishna was doing all this confusion just to glorify the sense of duty of his pure devotees, even under such a difficult situation where all the children of the Pandavas were killed. And after this, the Pandavas then performed the funeral ceremonies, and they were all overwhelmed with grief. So chapter 8 is titled Prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit Maharaj Saved. There are different subject matters described in this chapter 8. First, upon removal from the camp, Ashwatthama became angry and again released another Brahmastra to kill Parikshit Maharaj, because that was the last progeny left. And then another topic is that Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj because Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal. And the other topic is that after seeing how Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj and the Pandavas, then Kunti Maharani started offering prayers to Krishna. And the last topic described in this chapter is the lamentation of Yudhishthir. Chapter 8 is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is verses 1 to 7. Sorry, Part 1 is verses 1 to 17. Parikshit saved. Part 2, verses 18 to 43. Prayers by Queen Kunti. Part 3 is verses 44 to 52. Yudhishthir's lamentation. So Kunti Maharani's prayer starts from verse number 18 onwards. Srila Prabhupada has 48 plus lectures on verse number 18 onwards to 43 on the prayers of Queen Kunti. And devotees took the transcript of these 48 plus lectures and printed it as a book which is titled Prayers of Queen Kunti. They are essentially what Prabhupada spoke in those 48 plus lectures. That's a lot of lectures on one topic because it's a very important topic. So this I have explained that these prayers of Kunti Maharani are the first full set of prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. We read previously in Canto 1, Chapter 7, where Arjuna offered prayers in 4 verses. Those were short prayers. This Canto 1, Chapter 8 onwards, you have full set of prayers. Let's read verse 1 and 2 translations are pretty straightforward. Raksha, verses 1 and 2 translations from the screen or by yourself.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 1, Sutta Goswami said, thereafter the Pandavas, desiring to deliver water to the dead relatives who had desired it, went to the Ganges with Draupadi. The ladies walked in front. Text 2, having lamented over them and sufficiently offer Ganges water, they bathe in the Ganges, whose water is sanctified due to being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. Pretty straightforward verses. Vimal Prabhu, is Trisha able to read verse 3 and 4 translation, or you can read?
Full Prabhu. There sat the king of Kurus, Maharaja Yudhishthir, along with the youngest brother and Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Kunti, and Draupadi, all overwhelmed with the grief. Lord Krishna was also there. Text 4. Citing these stringent laws of the Almighty and their reactions upon living beings, Lord Shri Krishna and the Munis began to pacify those who were shocked and affected. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. We'll read the purport for verse number 4 very soon, that the sages are trying to pacify Yudhishthir by quoting scriptures that everyone is under the stringent laws of time. Therefore, human life is meant for liberation. Mukti or liberation means to reinstate one's original spiritual status. We'll read verse number 4 purport. Let's see. Dipanshu Prabhu, are you able to read it faster pace?
Yes, Prabhuji. The stringent laws of nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be altered by any living entity. The living entities are eternally under the subjugation of the Almighty Lord. The Lord makes all the laws and orders, and these laws and orders are generally called dharma or religion. No one can create any religious formula. Bona fide religion is to be abide by the orders of the Lord. The Lord's orders are clearly declared in the Bhagavad Gita. Everyone should follow him only or his orders, and that will make all happy both materially and spiritually. As long as we are in the material world, our duty is to follow the orders of the Lord, and if by the grace of the Lord we are liberated from the clutches of material world, then in our liberated state also we can render transcendental loving service unto the Lord. In our material stage, we can see neither ourselves nor the Lord for want of spiritual vision. But when we are liberated from material affection and are situated in our original spiritual form, we can see both ourselves and the Lord face to face. Mukti means to be reinstated in one's original spiritual status after giving up the material conception of life. Therefore, human life is specially meant for qualifying ourselves for this spiritual liberty. Unfortunately, under the influence of illusionary material energy, we accept this spot life of only a few years as our permanent existence and thus become illusioned by possessing so called country, house, land, children, wife, community, wealth, etc., which are false representations created by Maya illusion. And under the dictation of Maya, we fight with one another to protect these false possessions. By cultivating spiritual knowledge, we can realize that we have nothing to do with all this material paraphernalia. Then at once we become free from material attachment. This clearance of the misgivings of material existence at once takes place by association with Lord's devotees who are able to inject the transcendental sound into the depth of bewildered heart and thus make one practically liberated from all lamentation and illusion. That is a summary of pacifying measures for those affected by the reaction of stringent material laws exhibiting in the forms of birth, death, old age, and disease, which are insoluble factors of material existence. The victims of war, namely the family members of the Kurus, were lamenting the problems of death, and the Lord pacified them on the basis of knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Okay, pretty heavy purport that we are all under the stringent laws of nature, and we have this illusion of so-called country, home, wife, community, wealth, etc. These are false representations of Maya. Maya means illusion, and liberation means to reinstate in one's original spiritual status. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. Let's read verse number 5. Pragya, are you able to read verse number 5?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, just give me a moment. Text 5. The clever Duryodhan and his party cunningly usurped the kingdom of Yudhishthir, who had no enemy. By the grace of the Lord, the recovery was executed, and the unscrupulous kings who joined with Duryodhan were killed by him. Others also died, their duration of life having decreased for their rough handling of the hair of Queen Draupadi. Hare Krishna.
So, before the advent of Kali, during Vedic times, 5 groups were given proper protection. The 5 groups are Brahmanas, cows, women, children, and old men. This is described in the purport. Pragya, read the purport faster pace.
Ji Prabhuji. Purport. In the glorious days on or before the advent of age of Kali, the Brahmanas, the cows, the women, the children, and the old men were properly given protection. The protection of the Brahmanas maintains the institution of Varna and Ashram, the most scientific culture for attainment of spiritual life. Number two, the protection of cows maintains the most miraculous form of food, that is, milk for maintaining the finer tissues of the brain for understanding the higher aims of life. Number three, the protection of women maintains the chastity of the society by which we can give a good generation of for peace, tranquility, and progress of life. Number four, the protection of children gives the human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. Such protection of children begins from the very day of begetting a child by a purificatory process of Garbhadharan Sanskar, the beginning of pure life. The protection of old men gives them a chance to prepare themselves for better life after death. This complete outlook This complete outlook is based on factors leading to successful humanity as against the civilization of polished cats and dogs. The killing of the above mentioned innocent creatures is totally forbidden because even by insulting them one loses one's duration of life. In the age of Kali they are not properly protected, and therefore the duration of life of the present generation has shortened considerably. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that when the women become unchaste for want of proper protection, there are unwanted children called Varna Sankar. To insult a chaste woman means to bring about disaster in the duration of life. Dushasan, the brother of Duryodhan, insulted Draupadi, an ideal chaste lady, and therefore the miscreants died untimely. These are some sort of stringent laws of the Lord mentioned above. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, so five groups of individuals should be protected. And Srila Prabhupada incorporated these in ISKCON. Okay, we'll read verse number 6, translation and purport. Prerna, are you able to read from the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji, I will read. Just a second. What should I be reading, Prabhuji?
Verse number 6, translation and purport from the screen.
Okay. Lord Sri Krishna caused 3 well-performed Aswamedha yajnas, horse sacrifices, to be conducted by Maharaj Yudhishthira, and thus caused his virtuous fame to be glorified in all directions, like that of Indra, who had performed 100 such sacrifices. Purport. This is something like the preface to the performances of Ashwamedha Yajna by Maharaja Yudhishthira. The comparison of Maharaja Yudhishthira to the king of heaven is significant. The king of heaven is thousands and thousands of times greater than Maharaj Yudhishthira in opulence. Yet the fame of Maharaj Yudhishthira was not less. The reason is that Maharaj Yudhishthira was a pure devotee of the Lord, and by his grace only was king and by his grace only King Yudhishthira on the level of king of heaven, even though he performed only 3 yajnas, whereas the king of heaven performed hundreds. This is the prerogative of the devotee of the Lord. The Lord is equal to everyone, but the devotee of the Lord is more glorified because he is always in touch with the all great. The sun rays are equally distributed, but still there are some places which are always dark. This is not due to the sun, but to the receptive power. Similarly, those who are percent devotees of the Lord get the full-fledged mercy of the Lord, which is always equally distributed everywhere. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good. So, a pretty straightforward verse that because of performing those yajnas is why Yudhishthir became famous, and Krishna is ready to leave for Dwarka now. But very soon we'll read that Uttara comes running to him. Uttara is Abhimanyu's wife and the mother of Parikshit Maharaj. Vimal Prabhu has a question.
Prabhuji, can you please clear this line? I'm unable to understand that the sun rays are equal distributed, but still there are some places which are always dark.
Yeah.
This is not due to the sun, but to the respective power. That took my mind straight to the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on in the ocean where sun rays never reach. Can you please explain me this little bit, sir?
Yeah, so it's referring to the receptive nature. So if somebody hides himself in a basement and is never coming out of the sun, well, he's never going to get the benefit of sun rays. Sun rays are equally available to everyone. But if somebody hides himself, that's the point being made, the receptive nature. So you saying, say in some place deep in the ocean, well, the sun energies go deep in the ocean through the rays penetrating. It may be dark because of a lot of covering, but the energy reaches directly and indirectly. Say the water also heats up and the energy reaches. But the point being made here about the key word is receptive. That if somebody is not ready for spirituality, no matter what you do for this person, he's never going to get the benefit. Vimal Prabhu?
Thank you, clearly. Thank you.
All right. Mayank Prabhu, from the screen or by yourself, verse 7 and 8 translations and then 8 purport.
Hare Krishna. Can I read it from the screen, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
7, right?
7 translation, then 8 translation. I will keep scrolling.
Okay. Lord Krishna then prepared for his departure. He invited the sons of Pandu after having been worshipped by the Brahmanas, headed by Srila Vyasadeva. The Lord also reciprocated greetings.
Verse 8 translation and purport.
As soon as he seated himself on the chariot to start for Dwarka, he saw Uttara hurrying toward him in fear. All the members of the family of the Pandavas were completely dependent on the protection of the Lord, and therefore the Lord protected all of them in all circumstances. The Lord protects everyone, but one who depends completely upon him is especially looked after by the Lord. The father is more attentive to the little son who is exclusively dependent on the father.
Okay, pretty straightforward that Lord is about to depart and Uttara comes running, and we'll continue that conversation in the upcoming verses. Let's see. Chandran Prabhu, verses 9 and 10 translations plus purports, faster pace.
Hare Krishna. Text 9. Uttara said, O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mistakes. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality. Purport. This material world is the world of duality. In contrast with the oneness of the absolute realm, the world of duality is composed of matter and spirit, whereas the absolute world is complete spirit without any tinge of the material qualities. In the dual world, everyone is falsely trying to become the masters of the world, whereas in the absolute world, the world Lord is the absolute Lord, and all others are his absolute servitors. In the world of duality, everyone is envious of all others, and death is inevitable due to the dual existence of matter and spirit. The Lord is the only shelter of the fearlessness for the surrendered soul. One cannot save himself from the cruel hands of death in the material world without having surrendered himself at the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 10. Oh my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally, if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. Purport. This incident took place after the death of Abhimanyu, the husband of Uttara. Abhimanyu's widow, Uttara, should have followed the path of a husband. But because she was pregnant and Maharaja Parikshit, a great devotee of the Lord, was lying in embryo, she was responsible for his protection. The mother of a child has a great responsibility in giving all protection to the child, and therefore Uttara was not ashamed to express this frankly before Lord Krishna. Uttara was the daughter of a great king, the wife of a great hero, and student of a great devotee, and later she was the mother of a good king also. She was fortunate in every respect. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So Uttara says to Lord Krishna that you are God of gods. No one except you can give me protection. So prayer by a mother, Uttara, is very conscious of protection of her child. Uttara is not worried about her protection. Therefore, she is saying, let the Brahmastra burn me, but please save my child. And Srila Prabhupada, in the purport we read, it says that mother of a child has great responsibility to the child. So in current human civilization, because it is very demoniac, no one is teaching this to mothers, at least some of the mothers. So from Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand this principle of mother protecting the child. Questions, comments, realization so far?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Okay, go ahead.
Prabhuji, how did Uttara come to know about that arrow coming to her while Pandus seemingly were not aware about it?
Yeah, so the arrow is coming. You will see the arrow coming, and it's an upcoming discussion very soon. Just hold a couple more minutes. It's a discussion in the next few verses. Okay, let's read, and we'll get the answer to Pragya's question very soon. Matan Prabhu, 11 and 12 translations plus purports.
Hare Krishna. Sudha Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Aswatthama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family. And can you scroll down?
Purport also.
Okay. So purport: the Lord is impartial in every respect, but still he is inclined toward his devotees because there is a great necessity of this for everyone's well-being. The Pandava family was family of devotees, and therefore the Lord wanted them to rule the world. That was the reason he vanquished the rule of company of Duryodhana and established the rule of Maharaja Yudhishthira. Therefore, he also wanted to protect Maharaja Pariksit, who was lying in embryo. He did not like the idea that the world should be without Pandava, the ideal family of devotees.
Okay, 12 translation and purport.
Okay, verse 12. Or foremost among the great thinkers, Munis, Sonaga, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding toward them, the Pandava took up their 5 respective weapons. Purport: the Brahmastra are finer than the nuclear weapons. Aswatthama discharged the Brahmastra simply to kill the Pandavas, namely the 5 brothers headed by Maharaja Yudhishthira and their only grandson, who was lying within the womb of Uttara. Therefore, Brahmastra, more effective and finer than the atomic weapons, was not as blind as the atomic bombs. When the atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate between the target and others. Mainly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there is no control. The Brahmastra is not like that. It marks out the target and proceeds accordingly without harming the innocent. Hare Krishna.
So here is Krishna's first quality, that Krishna is Bhaktavatsal. Bhaktavatsal means he is very affectionate to his devotees. So Krishna understood that Brahmastra was released by Ashwatthama again. And in the purport we read, Srila Prabhupada says that Lord is impartial to everyone. That even if somebody is demoniac or terrorist, Lord is still giving him whatever is required for his sustenance, like food, shelter, etc. But Lord is inclined to his devotees. Now, this is not a fault. Actually, it's a great quality of being Bhakta Vatsal. So, what actually happened was that this Brahmastra that Ashwatthama released again actually split into 6 Brahmastra. So 5 Brahmastra for the 5 Pandavas and 1 for Uttara or Parikshit Maharaj, you can say. This is the power of the Brahmastra, that it is very subtle and it will only go to the target and destroy the target and not damage or kill innocent people. Modern nuclear bombs or these atomic bombs, they have no control. They kill innocent people. And this discussion will continue in the next verse. Vijay Prabhu, verse 13, translation and purport. Faster pace, please. Vijay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, I'm sorry, be busy with the altar service. Sorry, I'm just listening only. Thank you.
Okay. Archana, 13, translation purport, faster pace.
Hare Krishna. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered soul, at once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them. And 14 to Prabhuji?
13 purport.
Purport. The Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Ashwadhama, was something similar to the nuclear weapon, but with more radiation and heat. The Brahmastra is the product of the more subtle science, being the product of the finer sound, the mantras recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it is not blind, like a nuclear weapon, because it can be direct only to the target and nothing else. Ashwadhama released the weapon just to finish all the male members of Pandu's family. Therefore, in one sense, it was more dangerous than the atomic bomb, because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. Knowing all this, Lord Sri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotee who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotee are never to be vanquished, and he behaves according to the quality of or a degree of the devotional service rendering by the devotees. Here the word Ananya Visayatnam is the significant. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglected even the greatest warrior and also vanquished them in no time. When the Lord saw that there was no time for Pandavas to counterattack the Brahmastra of Ashwadhama, he took up his weapon even at the risk of breaking his own vow. Although the battle of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still, according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon. But the emergency was more important than the war. He is better known as a Bhakta Vatsala, or a lover of his devotee, and thus he preferred to continue as a Bhakta Vatsala than to be worldly moralist who never break his solemn vow. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so Pragya's question, that how come the Lord is protecting and Uttara and not the Pandavas? So first, that all Pandavas are 100% dependent on the Lord. And this statement, the Lord saw that there was no time for Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. Pragya, does that answer your question?
Ji Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Okay, so here's a question for you all. Everybody should try to answer. So we read, we know from before, and we read that that Krishna had taken a vow not to pick up weapons. So how do you understand that Krishna picked up his Sudarshan Chakra to protect Uttara and Parikshit Maharaj and the Pandavas? Somebody wants to try? Okay.
Prabhuji, that vow was taken for the war. I think now we are talking about post-war scenario when war is over.
Yeah, very good. One point is correct. There is another important point. Very good. Correct point. Somebody else wants to try?
Prabhu, because when his devotees are faced with danger, then he wants to protect them no matter what.
Yeah, very good. There's a message in the chat as well that for his devotees, Krishna breaks his own promise. Very good. So we read here, and I will summarize those points. We anyway read it here, that first there was no time for Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra, and therefore Krishna took up the weapon at the risk of breaking his own vow. Now, although Pragya correctly pointed out that although the battle was kind of over, but it was not necessarily over, you can say either way. Still, according to his vow, he should not have picked up his weapon. But here's the important point, that he is Bhakta Vatsal. That Krishna wanted to be famous as Bhakta Vatsal rather than a worldly moralist person. So Krishna is very practical. He is not stuck with a vow. He does not want to remain just as a moral person. Rather, he wants to be known as Bhakta Vatsal. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the Lord. The Pandavas were great warriors themselves. But the Lord saw that there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. Therefore, the Lord took up his weapon even against his vow of not picking up weapons in the battle. Because of the emergency, it was more important to protect than his vow. Krishna is better known as Bhakta Vatsal, means lover of his devotees, and he preferred to continue to be known as Bhakta Vatsal rather than being a moralist who does not break his vow. Everybody on the same page?
Yes.
Okay. So next few verses explains how Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj. So next few verses are pretty straightforward. We'll read 14 to 17 translations. Dhara, 14 to 17 translations.
Hare Krishna. Text 14. The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Sri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of the Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. Text 15. O Shaunak, the glory of Brigu's family, although the supreme Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama was irresistible and without check or counteraction, it was neutralized and foiled when confronted by the strength of Vishnu Lord Krishna. Text 16. O Brahmins, do not think this to be especially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible personality of Godhead. By his own transcendental energy, he creates, maintains, and annihilates all material things, although he himself is unborn. Text 17. Thus saved from the radiation of the Brahmastra, Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord, and his 5 sons and Draupadi addressed Lord Krishna as he started for home. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so pretty straightforward verses that Krishna is protecting the Pandavas, including Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. So Parikshit Maharaj in the womb remembered Krishna protecting him. Therefore, after birth, Parikshit Maharaj kept inquiring Oh, are you Krishna? Are you Krishna? Who is this Krishna? Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj came to be known as Parikshit. Parikshit means one who inquires. Therefore, sages are asking to hear about Parikshit Maharaj, means they want to hear about Krishna and Krishna Katha. This is the first part of this chapter 8. Any questions, comments, realizations? Okay, so from verse number 18 is part 2. Pragya has a question.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I just wanted to know that wasn't it wrong to have left Ashwathama alive? And he did not have any repentance for what he had done. So they just pardoned him without even him repenting. And now he's again, back to his natural self that he was. So wasn't it a wrong decision?
Yeah, very good. So when I was studying the Srimad Bhagavatam in my Bhakti Vaibhav course, this exact same question was asked. So understand, I will repeat the answer given by my Siksha Guru. Understand that material world is a place of misery. On the surface, it seems like that if Ashwathama was killed when he had released the Brahmastra for the first time, instead of just cutting his hair and the jewel and then pardoning his life, if Ashwathama was killed, well, material world is a misery, some other misery will come up. So the point being made by not killing Ashwathama is to make us understand that material world is a place of misery. No matter what you do, if you try to end one particular misery, well, something else will come up. So it would seem that if Ashwathama was killed, then this misery would have not happened. Well, no, that is not correct. Even if Ashwathama would have been killed, material world is designed as a place of misery. Some other misery would have come up. That's the point being made about when for the question that Pragya raised. Pragya, does that answer?
And Ji Prabhuji, thank you. The thing is that he should, he never had any repentance for what he did.
So
And that
he
was
got the punishment after this, that when he released the second Brahmastra and Krishna protected everybody, that's when Krishna actually punished him, that you will live in the same body on earth for some 36,000 plus years. That's the punishment he got. That's when he actually realized that he has done something terrible. So as part of the punishment, he definitely would transform. Of course, Ashwathama, when he got punished by Krishna for this long length of life, to live for 36,000 plus years in the same body on earth, that time itself he already realized his mistake. Pragya?
And thank you, Prabhuji. So that mention of that 35,000 years is there in Srimad Bhagavatam?
It's there someplace. I don't recall it where. It should be
Prabhuji.
there somewhere, or at least it's definitely there in Mahabharata, but it's there someplace. Archana?
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just got a realization, means in the presence of Krishna also there was, means Krishna is teaching us that in my presence also there are so much misery, is better to understand quickly and go back to Godhead.
Very good realization that yes, Krishna is personally present in front of all the Pandavas, and still there are so many miseries. So I stated at the start of this chapter 8 that these miseries in the material world, you have no option. Material world is a place of misery. So how do I use my miseries to go back home is the crux of the discussion that starts from this verse number 18. But Archana, you are absolutely correct. You have absolute correct realization that let's just go back home to Godhead by surrendering to Krishna. Archana?
Hari Bol Prabhu.
All right. So from verse number 18 is part 2, verses 18 to 43 is prayers of Queen Kunti. So Kunti could see personally how Krishna protected her sons and grandson. And Kunti Maharani was overwhelmed seeing the mystic power of Krishna. That Krishna was present in front of all of them. Simultaneously, Krishna went into Uttara's womb and protected Parikshit Maharaj also. This is the mystic power of Krishna. Therefore, Queen Kunti starts offering prayers. Now, as we read through these prayers, try to identify Krishna's qualities. There are about 10 qualities described in these prayers. The first one we already know that Krishna is Bhaktavatsal. Try to note down qualities. We'll of course summarize as we progress. Try to summarize and identify those qualities because it will become very easy to remember Krishna through the qualities. At least it is for me. It can happen for you also. But you can continue to remember Krishna whichever way works for you. Okay, so we'll read 18 translation. Prerna, 18 translation from the screen.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 18. Srimati Kunti said, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, Kunti Maharani could personally see how Krishna is protecting. Now, Kunti Maharani is elder to Krishna. When Kunti Maharani is saying that I offer my obeisances, so Krishna may say, well, why are you offering obeisances? You are putting me in an awkward situation. Therefore, Kunti Maharani starts by saying that you are not ordinary person. You are Purusha, Ishwaram, controlling nature, Prakate Param. But you are invisible to those who are not your devotees. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that Krishna is invisible because of the rebellious nature of the jivas. Okay. Raksha, purport, faster pace.
Srimati Kunti Devi was quite aware that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, although he was playing the part of her nephew. Such an enlightened lady could not commit a mistake by offering obeisances unto her nephew. Therefore, she addressed him as the original Purusa beyond the material cosmos. Although all living entities are also transcendental, they are neither original nor infallible. The living entities are apt to fall down under the clutches of material nature, but the Lord is never like that. In the Vedas, therefore, he is described as the chief among all living entities. Then again, he is addressed as Ishvara, or the controller. The living entities or the demigods like Chandra and Surya are also to some extent Ishvara, but none of them is the supreme Ishvara or the ultimate controller. He is Parameshwara or the super soul. He is both within and without. Although he was present before Srimati Kunti as her nephew, he was also within her and everyone else. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, I am situated in everyone's heart, and only due to me one remembers, forgets, and is cognizant, etc. Through all the Vedas, I am to be known because I am the compiler of the Vedas and I am the teacher of the Vedanta. Queen Kunti affirms that the Lord, although both within and without all living beings, is still invisible. The Lord is, so to speak, a puzzle for the common man. Queen Kunti experienced personally that Lord Krishna was present before her, yet he entered within the womb of Uttara to save her embryo from the attack of Ashwathama's Brahmastra. Kunti herself was puzzled about whether Sri Krishna is all-pervasive or localized. In fact, he is both, but he reserves the right of not being exposed to persons who are not surrendered souls. This checking curtain is called the Maya energy of the Supreme Lord, and it controls the limited vision of the rebellious soul. It is explained as follows. Hare Krishna.
The Lord is, so to speak, a puzzle for the common man. I'm not sure if you are sometimes puzzled or not, at least I am. And we'll discuss more about this puzzling nature of Krishna very soon. And why Krishna does not reveal himself? Prabhupada says this is because of the rebellious nature of the soul. Are we on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? Nitya, verse 19 translation. Verse 19 explains why I cannot see Krishna. It's explained here.
Yes, Prabhu. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as the player is not recognized.
So, I am covered by the curtain of illusory energy, and I cannot understand Krishna by the knowledge I gain from my senses. Knowledge through senses is limited to understand Krishna. As long as in the material world, my senses are contaminated. Therefore, Krishna is avyayam, irreproachable. Those who are attached to body, wanting to satisfy senses, they cannot see Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy that the father is acting in a drama. He has some weird dress on. So the mother can recognize, but the child sitting in the audience cannot recognize that it is his father in the drama. So what's the difference between mother knows and the baby does not know? Because the father is in a different dress. Similarly, devotees know. Krishna as a child could kill Putana, lift Govardhan hill. Devotees have no problem to understand this. But those who are attached to body, they do not know, they cannot understand such superhuman activities of Krishna. Plus, Prabhupada says that those who are depending on their senses, they cannot understand Krishna. Such persons are like the scientist. They cannot know by such experimental knowledge. Prabhupada explains all of this in the purport. Read all the purport. The purports are pretty heavy and detailed for all these points. Nitya, verse 20 translation.
Yes, Prabhu. You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? Purport. Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhu. Purport.
Yeah, read faster, please.
Even the greatest philosophical speculators cannot have access to the region of the Lord. It is said in the Upanishads that the Supreme Truth, the absolute personality of Godhead, is beyond the range of the thinking power of the greatest philosopher. He is unknowable by the great learning or by the greatest brain. He is knowable by one who has his mercy. Others may go on thinking about him for years together, yet he is unknowable. This very fact is corroborated by the queen who's playing the part of an innocent woman. Women in general are unable to speculate like philosophers, but they are blessed by the Lord because they believe at once in the superiority and the almightiness of the Lord, and thus they offer obeisances without reservation. The Lord is so kind that he does not show special favor only to one who is a great philosopher. He knows the sincerity of purpose. For this reason only, women generally assemble in great number in any sort of religious function. In every country and in every sect of religion, it appears that the women are more interested than the men. The simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor.
Okay. So, why Krishna comes to this world? Explained here that those who are pure, you appear to infuse devotional service in their heart. And Kunti Maharani says, I am just a woman. How can I understand? And Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain in the purport that women in general are unable to speculate like philosophers, but women are blessed by the Lord because they at once believe in the superiority and almightiness of the Lord. The Lord shows special favor not only to advanced transcendentalists, not only to great philosophers, but Lord also shows favor to those with sincerity of purpose. Therefore, you will see that women assemble in great number at religious functions. So I request all of you to please tolerate for a few extra minutes. I want to cover these two verses. I wanted to cover up to 25, but we won't reach till 25. But I want to cover 21 and 22 so I can give you a very important spiritual endeavor. So verse number 21 and 22 are very, very famous verses. They are many have kirtan for these two verses also, means they have recited these two verses as kirtan. Would you all like to recite the Sanskrit of these two verses?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Ji Prabhuji.
Okay, I will first recite 1.8.21. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Everybody unmute and recite one line after me, please. Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya
Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki
Nandanaya
Nandanaya
Cha
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya
Nanda
Gopa
Gopala
Maraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Govindaya
Namo Namaha.
Namaha.
Very good. Priyanka, translation, please.
Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enliver of the cows and the senses. Hare Krishna.
So you are more famous as the son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj because you gave them opportunity for your childhood pastimes. You are Bhaktavatsal. Krishna is more merciful than Lord Ram. This is explained in the purport. You can read by yourself that Krishna is more merciful than Lord Ram because Krishna is more approachable. Even when Krishna is within and without, why then people cannot see him? Because cannot see with my blunt senses. I cannot see Krishna because I am attached to the needs of the body. And similarly, verse number 22 is also a very well-known verse. I will recite the Sanskrit first and then you all can recite one line after me, please. And this is going to be your spiritual endeavor verse. Verse 1.8.22. Nama Pankaja Nabaye, Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraye, Namaste Pankajagre. Unmute yourself and recite one line after me, please. Nama Pankaja Nabaye,
Nama
Pankajanaabhaye,
Nama Pankaja Maline,
Nama
Nama
Pankajamaline,
Pankajamaline,
Nama Pankaja Netraye,
Nama Pankajanetraye,
Namaste Namaste Pankajagre.
Namaste
Pankajagrahe.
Pankajagrahe.
Malti, I can hear your voice. You want to read the translation?
Yes, Prabhuji. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abundance is marked with the depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with the garland of lotus flower, who glance is and cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraveled with the lotus.
Okay. So Kunti Maharani continues offering respects and prayers, and Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that lotus flower is engraved on Krishna's lotus feet is not there for others. This is how you can understand who is Krishna. In some of Srimad Bhagavatam lecture, Srila Prabhupada says, Kunti Maharani is a great devotee, is giving us an opportunity to become Krishna consciousness. That as soon as you see a lotus flower, you can immediately think of this verse, number 22, Nama Pankaja Nabhai, and you can remember this verse as well as you can remember Krishna. Now, important point is that we all know that we start taking darshan from the lotus feet. But here Kunti Maharani is not starting from the lotus feet. She is actually coming to the lotus feet at the last. So first Kunti Maharani says, Nama Pankaj Nabhai, that's abdomen. Then Nama Pankaj Maline, that's the garland. And Nama Pankaj Netraye is eyes. And then she comes to the lotus feet that Namaste Pankaj Agre. Why it is like this is that we discussed in the previous verse that Kunti Maharani does not want to put Krishna in an awkward position, that Kunti Maharani is elder to Krishna in the role that they are playing in this pastime. Therefore, Kunti Maharani does not start by offering obeisances at the lotus feet, but she is a pure devotee. She has to offer obeisances at the lotus feet. Therefore, to not put Krishna in an awkward position, she starts from the top part or the middle part of the Lord, but then she, of course, ends by saying Namaste Pankajagrahe. Any questions, comments, realizations before I give you a spiritual endeavor? All right. So, first question, Shri Krishna taking up his Sudarshan disc. What does it indicate? This comes from verse number 13. Question number 2, I want everyone to have undivided attention on the screen. So I want all of you to use vedabase.io for your search. From verse number 1.8.22, I want you to copy any one of the line number 2, 3 or 4, not the first line. You copy either line number 2 or you copy line number 3 or you copy line number 4, and I want you to paste it in the search. So you can go here and there is a search and you can paste whatever you copied, any of the lines, not just the first line. So you take, for example, if you copy the second line, Nama Pankaja Maline, I copied it, and now you go to the search and you paste this line here and then you hit search, and I want you to find and read what you find. Everybody clear on the second spiritual endeavor?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Prabhu, quick question. Where we can also do more than one verse, one line of the verse, or
Well,
just one line?
Well, you do one line at a time, meaning line number 2, 3, or 4. It is possible to search multiple lines, but you have to become a very expert. So use simple. Don't try to complicate. Use simple. Use line either of the lines number 2, 3, or 4, and see what results you are getting, and then read and bring up your realizations on that. So make it simple. Either copy line number 2, or copy line number 3, or copy line number 4 and paste it in the search. Okay, and the last spiritual endeavor is for the next class, that read up to verse number 43, and from this verse onwards, 22 onwards, you can also identify Krishna's qualities. We'll of course discuss at our next class. So I will repeat the announcement I made at the start, that there's very high likelihood that for upcoming classes will be cancelled. I will post the information as soon as it becomes available to me. And for those of you who have family members capable of attending the Bhagavatam classes, should try your best to attend, get their family members to also attend the Bhagavatam classes, so they can hear the proper information and get benefit from it. We will stop here. Thank you for tolerating for a few extra minutes. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, everyone.